So this morning, the visit from the Pope, the papal visit to Congress, as the Pope speaks to a joint session of Congress, and it was fascinating to see quite a few people in the gallery there, and then the crowds of people in D.C. watching outside. So what we've done is we've got it set up with Senator Jeff Flake, who was in attendance. So as a matter of fact, we saw the senator on TV. Somehow they always find. I think it's because you're the most handsome guy in Congress. I think they find you wherever the cameras are. So we saw you on TV this morning. How was the speech?
Hey, that was. I thought it was a great speech. At times, it was a little difficult to understand. He's soft-spoken, obviously in a language unfamiliar, but it was. I thought a great speech overall, and it was well received.
When you some of the stances that he takes that have been a little bit controversial with some people here in the States, when he talks about climate change and other things, I made an observation this morning that as the leader of a church, they're great ideals, but sometimes those ideals cannot transfer to a government. Do you agree with that? And are some of the things that he said, do you think are going to change the way Washington behaves?
Well, as I take it, what he says is that we ought to be good stewards of this earth and our environment and pass it on, in a good way to our kids. Now, how that translates into government action, as you mentioned, is more difficult to tell. I'm not a fan of the way this president has tried to translate that, but I think there are ways, there are things that we ought to be doing, should be doing to protect the environment, and I think the Pope's message on that is good.
See, I think that it's interesting because I've mentioned this when we've talked before. Your family has been in Arizona for generations. And so if there's anyone that would be concerned about maintaining the pristine forests and wanting to do the right things as far as thinning the forest the right way to stop these wildfires from getting out of control, it would be someone like you that not only has such generational roots here, but such a knowledge of the state. And I don't know why they don't put it in the hands of people like that as opposed to federal regulations by people that have no idea in many cases what the best thing is.
Well, I think increasingly we are coming to a more bipartisan consensus on that, and I think it's manifested in things like the Fry and some of the initiatives going forward. But you're right, for a spell there, particularly during the 70s, 80s, 90s, we weren't thinning the forests, we weren't managing them as they should be managed, and the chickens have come home to roost. We've had two, once-in-a-lifetime fires, and I think that woke a lot of people up. So we're heading into a better period, I hope.
So when you reflect back on the speech today, what stood out to you? What are some of the significant points of the speech that you're going to take away from it, or do you think the room really kind of is going to take away from the speech?
Well, what I took from it is that when he talked about more broadly immigration, mentioning that we're all immigrants and that it's our responsibility to see it as a father sees it, or a mother. You want the best life for your children. Don't all of us want that, he said. And I think it goes to the motives of those who come across the border, and our responsibility to try to see it from that perspective, and I think deal with it in a humane way. He's been a long, consistent voice on that, and our responsibility to simply, as all of God's children, to see it that way. So I thought that was powerful.
So do you think that there will be some movement on both sides of the aisle politically because of this, where border security can be real in the sense that we can make sure that when the good people that are coming here for noble reasons and for their children, like the Pope mentions, can happen, but we can also protect as well as possible against the criminal element and those that wish to do us harm? Can we move in that direction?
I sure hope so. A lot of us have been pushing for that. Obviously, a nation has to have borders, and I don't think that he's saying that we shouldn't have them. We have to have borders. We have to have border security. That's in the best interests of everyone. But for those who are here, who have been here, who have families, we have to find a reasonable, rational way to deal with that population. And that's been difficult to do, but I hope that he makes it easier.
So when you, as the speech ended and the conversations you were having with people, what was the overall impression of his visit in general? Because all we see is what's on television, and all news stations are on this as if this is the biggest thing that's happened in D.C. in a long time. Is that the feeling around D.C.?
Well, yeah, this is a big deal. I mean, I don't think that's just a media creation. I think it was an honor to be there in the chamber, and I think that people appreciated the words of the Pope. I certainly did, and the conversations with my colleagues. You tend. I think if I got anything from that speech, it's just we can't always look at things from the perspective of just policy and how it's manifested. You have to take a step back and say, what are we here for? What are we on this earth for? And how will we be judged later? And I think that it's always good to have a reminder of that.
Did you have a chance to shake his hand or to meet him at all, or was he too far away?
No, I was close when he spoke, and I came outside when he was leaving and stood right by the Fiat as it took off. But that's as close as I got.
All right.
That's close as I got.
Well, we appreciate you doing this kind of last minute with us and give us some perspective on the speech, and we hope to talk to you soon when you're back home.
You bet. Hey, thanks for having me on.
All right, thanks a lot. That's Senator Jeff Flake spending a few minutes with the speech today. And I'm anxious to go back and hear. I'm sure we're going to be hearing highlights and parts of the speech. I'm going to go back and listen to it myself.